And that was day one of the Kiev Major main event. Round of 16, half done. The other half completed today. We've also got our expert panel back with us. Good morning to Conrad, to Melini, and of course to AUI. How are you all doing? Everyone good?
Very well, very well.
Yeah? All rested? Yeah, sort of, because it was a very long day yesterday. Let's just discuss the tournament so far. It pretty much went as expected, Ben, yesterday, with the 4 results. I mean, Newbie Liquid might have been either way, I guess.
I thought DC VGJ would be more DC favored.
Okay.
But, yeah, Liquid Newbie was pretty tight as well.
I think the majority of people got their predictions right, though. They just went with, just purely off how the statistics in the group stage. They probably got it right.
Yeah, the DC one maybe, because they were a little bit higher seeded, yeah, as well. Conrad, what did you make of day one?
Yep, exactly the same. Thought IG, VP, those were the very obvious picks. Team Liquid Newbie, quite close. And then for me, I actually had Digital Chaos winning, but maybe that's some NA bias right there. So
they were higher seed.
A little bit of NA bias. Well, we don't mind a little bit of NA bias. We have an NA panel, after all. Mousespots were also sent home, runners-up from Boston. Didn't have the greatest group stage, which effectively put them in with IG for the first round. But they put up a good fight yesterday, Ben.
That was surprisingly close.
Yeah.
I thought Mouse performed very, very well. Probably not deserving of a bottom 4 seed, I think, given that performance. And IG didn't look so great. Not the favorites.
Looked fairly ordinary, didn't they, again? Yeah, not quite the superhuman strength we saw at DAC. So maybe it opens up a little bit of hope for some of the other teams. Who knows?
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to look back on that game and try and figure out sort of what went wrong. You know, they're still a very strong team, and I thought they still looked good, but definitely not to the same form that we saw them at DAC, where they were just crushing everybody.
Okay, let's take a look at the schedule for today. We do have 4 matches for you on the way. We'll kick things off, of course, with Faceless versus TNC, the SEA battle between the two teams. TNC come into that as the higher seed, but Faceless come into that with better form against their opponents. Then we'll move on to OG versus Team Random. If you're not aware of Random, they used to be called Wings, which basically means that's the Boston Major champions versus the TI6 champions, the last 2 majors. Thunderbirds versus Evil Genius is the one that a lot of people are looking forward to, a repeat of the lower bracket final at TI6, where DC avenged Evil Geniuses to reach the grand final. And we'll finish the day off with the number 1 seed, Team Secret, going up against Brazil's boys, SG Esports, in a major for the first time, not having a great group stage, and now facing potentially the best team in the tournament. It's looking tough for them, but we'll see how they get on. We're going to move on to our first game of the day very shortly. It's TNC versus Faceless. Conrad, this is the worst possible draw for TNC. After having a very good group stage, they're rewarded by playing their bogey team from the same region.
I'm not too worried about that side. I think it's the worst for Southeast Asian fans.
Yeah. Well, they get 1 in the quarterfinal, guaranteed.
We got 2 qualifiers. We're going to have the 2 best teams there. Don't worry. We're going to have at least somebody in the top 8, and then they get seeded together. So, I think TNC is they've really shown how strong and how much they've adapted since then. And I don't know if Faceless is as much as the boogeyman to them as people are saying.
Yeah, 6-3 right now, but all of those online since 7.0, so...
6-3? I thought it was 6-2.
Yeah. 6-2?
Yeah, I think it's 6-2.
Okay.
Only 2 wins for TNC out of 8 games. That's not...
But it's online, Ben. No one cares about online.
Yeah, but the SEA regions, they play together all the time because they have pretty poor ping to any other region. You can't really play any inter-regional tournaments.
Okay. How do you see this as a derby between 2 SEA region teams?
I think the teams knowing each other is a good thing for the match. I think we saw in some of the other series that they would develop their own metagame. But in series like this, where the teams have played each other, you start with a weird metagame. So we might start with some weird first bans or weird first picks, and as viewers or casters, you won't know what's happening, but they do. And that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Is there key players for you on either side that need to make sure they deliver today?
I think for Faceless, I really want to see Black deliver, because I think he's very underrated as a carry. Right. I think people misunderstand how he plays carry, in my opinion. I think he's a guy who makes use of a lot of vision on a map and lane pushing to get very good solo pickoffs or provide his team with a good initiation to a team fight. And that's his strength as a carry. I mean, he's a great farmer and everything, but it's when he can put in that little bit of aggressiveness that he really shines. As far as TNC, I think it's a lot on Sam H. I think that's the matchup I'm looking at as like the offlane versus carry. Sam H has been hitting really good spells. I think he needs to continue to do that for TNC to succeed in team fights.
Ben, do you feel that the two teams have enough about them within the meta itself to make it a long way through the tournament, not just past each other?
I think they have the tougher side of the bracket.
Yeah.
Winner plays OG random.
Yeah.
Likely OG in that scenario, which is pretty tough. And then they have to face potentially Secret, I would say, from the bottom side of the bracket. So it's not looking too great for them. Although TNC almost did get a top seed, I would say. And it was pretty close versus VP. So I think they can be top 4, maybe even top 2.
I have TNC rated pretty highly. I think the OG matchup is going to be the real test. And after that, if they take on OG, I think, somebody like Thunderbirds, EG, or Secret, they have a good chance against them if they get that far.
Yeah, I think TNC is favored to go deeper, but Faceless may be favored in this single matchup just because of the history in between the two teams.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, isn't it? Always cool seeing two regional teams, especially from the SEA region as well, because they do tend to get a bit feisty with each other.
And they have the SEA coach of Winter.
They do have Winter, yeah,
probably
our
just
boy.
crunching every number for past 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah, usually on panels as well. Yeah. He's our boy, as we like to say. Good luck to him as well. It's been very interesting the way that TNC have put that team together, and not just Winter, but also Kip's in there as well. So what's going on with all the different people working for different teams? What's all that about?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Kipsel was a big part of Fnatic at TI, and she ended up moving on from the organization, and it looks like TNC picked her up.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the number one reason to attribute their success, but
it's got to help, though, isn't
obviously it? It's doing something very, very important to give them that top seed. And Faceless, we didn't see them perform very well in the group stage, so I don't know if the effects of the coaches or the analysts are going to be a big part. I'd love to see that be more part of the whole scene in general, and
me too.
Maybe you'll see the players do well because of it.
Yeah, TNC seem a bit more stable, as it were, not quite so gung ho with their drafts. Maybe they're a bit more within the meta. Faceless, on the other hand, were very inconsistent at DAC, and actually that's their story. I think probably throughout their entire career, inconsistency. How do they get over that today?
I think Winter has a big part to do with it because he's very experienced and he knows all these teams, all these players very, very well. And I saw him, we had a shot of him just talking to the team beforehand. Yeah. And I think he just needs to identify their strongest performances, the strongest heroes, the strongest strategies, and let them play it. I would like to see like an alternate universe. It's like, okay, what if they had this tournament without Winter? How well would they perform? But there's no way to know that. Yeah. It could just be a bad streak. It could be a really good streak. You don't actually know how much of a effect a coach has.
Okay, we are ready for the teams to enter the arena. So let's head over to Kiev right now for that.
The WESG Global Champions proved their title was no fluke and silenced critics with a top 4 finish at Star Series I-League. Their results have rallied a nation behind them, and the Filipino team has proven it will not go down easily. The brilliance of offlaner Sam H is the spark that ignites them. And they are here to do their country proud. Welcome on stage, TNC! Place at Dota Pit and top 8 at DAC. This team has come a long, long way since Boston. A fresh face last season, Jabs has become a ruthless mid laner, leading this team to glory. Proof of Captain iceiceice's incredible eye for talent. They are the winners of the SEA regional qualifiers for the 2nd major in a row. Welcome on stage, Faceless.
Teams ready then in the arena, and we'll have the final handshakes between the two SEA protagonists. They've both had to fight very hard to get to this stage, but one is about to go home. There's also one man in this team of Faceless who's had to fight more than perhaps any other player for his esports career, but he's also had an even bigger fight, a fight for life.
What happened about half a year after your father passed away?
When I was 17 years old, I was diagnosed with a disease, and the doctor said I have about 1 year to live. I was born in Marburg and grew up in Allendorf, in Germany, of course. I always liked to listen to music, do sports, football, frisbee, badminton, all that kind of stuff. And of course, video games, which I was introduced to at the age of 6 by my father. My brother and I, we have like a very close relationship. I can entrust him with most things, and he won't really judge me for it. Because my brother and I, we always went to sleep like really late, like 3, 4 a.m. And my father went on the balcony and suddenly collapsed. And then I saw it because I was right next to the balcony. And then I called my brother, we rushed out to the balcony, called the ambulance arrived, and they brought him to hospital. They found out that he has like 3 different kinds of cancer. Even beating one kind of cancer is like a really tough challenge already. So obviously, because it was 3 different cancers, it was pretty much impossible for him to survive. So all they could do was prolong his life for like another year. I promised him basically that I would become the best player and make a really good career out of esports. And then after that, he passed away. Half a year after my father passed away, I felt really bad. I felt like I had a really, really long flu and like a really long cold as well. I just felt like really uncomfortable all the time, and I really didn't know what was wrong. So I went back to the doctor, and basically he diagnosed that I had a very rare disease, which is called the non-Hodgkin lymphoma. And because it was pretty advanced at that stage already, the only real treatment was to get a bone marrow transplant. And basically he said, if we can't find a possible donor in 1 year, then it will probably be like too late. I didn't tell my brother and mom about it because at the time they had to face a lot of hardship already, because my dad died like half a year before that, and I really saw how it affected them, like mentally and emotionally as well. So I didn't want to burden them with any further problems that I incurred at the time, because I really thought it might break them down completely, and I just wanted to protect them from the pain. Even in that year, obviously I didn't know I would find a donor in time. So I tried to live every day to the fullest and try as hard as I possibly could to achieve what I can Like take it day by day. When I found a donor, obviously I just bursted out in happiness. I was like, it was like the first time I was ever really, really happy to go to the hospital, I think, in my life. As time passed on, I felt like I'm more vital than I was before I had the surgery. Like when I did sports, I would run faster. I would be able to lift heavier stuff when I went to the gym. Just all around, it felt like a body upgrade. That felt really, really amazing. I started to run marathons, just basically try to overcome my own limits. Once you overcome your own limits, it's kind of like breaking a barrier. And after you broke the barrier, you feel like you can accomplish so much more than you could before. Even though there's a lot of downsides of leaving your home country to go to China, to go to Malaysia, all these other countries, you gain a lot of life experience that no one can ever take away from you again. Like you grow up a lot. I became very, very independent, and what I learned from then on is that you should always live every day to like the fullest. And like every day spent worrying is actually a very wasted day. No matter what happens, you can never just like sit back and worry about life. As soon as that happens, you basically give up, and as soon as you give up, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like living anymore. And then when I started just living life again to the fullest, like every day, it felt really good. You feel happy again, you can actually start achieving your goals again, you can set goals that you didn't have before. So I think the most important part is really that you never ever give up on what you really think you should be doing. Definitely never ever give up on life if something tough happens in your life. You always need to get back up and start fighting again.
It's an incredible story. Sometimes reminds us that maybe Dota 2 has something outside of it as well. Easy to get lost in the bubble. But the man is in the booth right now. He is ready to fight again, this time alongside his teammates for that trophy for Team Faceless as they go head-to-head with TNC. Conrad, it's a touching story. It's an incredible story as well. And just shows the kind of character that he is. He's just never willing to give up on anything that he does.
Absolutely. And one thing I thought the video didn't get to touch on was how much he's traveled. You know, he's obviously a European player, played in China, played in Southeast Asia, and has been a staple of the Dota scene for many, many years. Yeah,
and a valuable part of it as well, Ben. He's great. We've had him on desks a lot in the past as well. He's always joking around, and he said in the video, living life to the fullest. It epitomizes him, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think he's probably the most energetic out of all of us. Yeah. Just super bubbly all the time. You're like, this guy on coffee or caffeine or something all the time.
He's just high on life. Yeah, and a great player as well. I mean, why has he travelled so far and done so well when others haven't been able to do that? We haven't seen many Western players go over to China and play in big teams the way he has.
It's not just that. He's had a lot of success on those teams. You know, he had a very good run with Vici Gaming. Yep. He's Sorry, I'm just in shock. I've known Black for so long. I didn't really know that stuff. He's always been one of the nicest people in the pro scene. You know, after turns, you would always want to chill with him. It's good to talk to. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a speechless video. And not only did we not know that, but his family didn't know any of that stuff either.
I can't imagine going through that alone.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Right, let's take a look at Faceless and his teammates as well. We said before, Conrad, it has been very inconsistent, this roster. They sometimes look absolutely incredible, flawless. Execution great, team fights great, run at you style fantastic. Other games, it looks awful. The draft is all over the place. They're off to different heroes. They're playing in weird lanes. They're not executing team fights properly. They're not running anyone. Why the inconsistencies, do you feel?
I don't know if it's inconsistency. At this event, I personally felt they've been trying different things. They're one of the few teams to run Arc Warden, which I think we learned in the pub was very powerful the other day. And they also tried some the Bristleback as well.
Yeah.
And those heroes are a little uncommon in the current meta, but I think we're starting to see the tip of the iceberg on what potentially could be a very interesting new meta coming into the rest of this tournament.
Okay, we're going to turn our attention to TNC. They're rivals in this one. They've had a great group stage. Ben, can they back that up and go further in the tournament?
Yeah, I think they're one of the more promising teams in this tournament. Pretty solid play, pretty solid teamwork, and they seem to transition pretty seamless from last patch to this patch, even prior to 7.00 to this patch.
Yeah,
pretty high winnings.
Yep,
it's a lot. As usual with the team that wins that much, you have to worry if they're gonna fall off. I think they fell off a little bit after WESG, but then again, the competition wasn't super stiff there.
Yeah, I think that's the difficulty with assessing them, isn't it? Sometimes they haven't always played the strongest teams in the tournaments that they've done well in. WSG have been one of them.
Except for TI.
I was about to say TI6, their performance
TI does stand out as a great performance. In terms of the matchup here, we've picked out the carries to look at and contrast and compare. Curtis, do you want to talk about these two carries and how they match up and in terms of what they offer their two teams?
I think it's an interesting carry matchup. TNC, I think, relies a lot more on Raven to carry them through the mid-late game, to try to give them a better game. Whereas I think for Faceless, their strength is actually having Black play in a way that allows them to enable iceiceice, and then they'll then use iceiceice being strong to give Black a good head, to have Black be able to do things in the mid game. And it's always interesting to see carries who really want to just carry the game into the late game versus carries who want to carry their team into the mid game. And I think that's what Black excels at. Yeah. And I think Raven's really good in late game. I mean, Black's not even bad in late game. I think Black's actually a top tier carry. So. Right. It's a good matchup.
Yeah, it's a very good matchup. One man on the TNC side, of course, is Ravens. Had a great tournament so far. Has been a standout player for his team once again as they come to a major. And he was with Shiva before they entered the round of 16 for his words on how they're doing so far.
TNC Raven.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Feeling good right now because of the winning. So I'm very confident right now. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Now, you're back in TNC, and there was a little bit of period where you weren't. Talk to me about how that happened.
Well, because we lost in the Boston Major, right? Me and Nico will be leaving on the Fnatic, so I chat my ex-manager policy to come back to TNC, and that's what happened.
I'm happy to be back, of course.
Yeah, of course, because it's so easy to play. You don't need to translate anyone or any English thing. So
and great. I think one of your first tournaments that you did with your team afterwards is WESG. Yeah. Now that was a massive moment for you guys.
It's really big, even in our country. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me a bit about that, about how it felt winning, I think, 800K and big deal for your country.
It's our first time to become champion too. That's why it's really big.
Yeah.
And we're just very happy that we did that. Yeah.
And you came back to the Philippines and you got celebrity status, not just Dota celebrity status. You said something about senators recognizing you as well?
That's really fun. Even, of course, we get to visit the senator that helped us to get the visa. So right now it's easy us to get a visa because some senators help us. So
that's really good to hear. How did you deal with that, with the celebrity status?
Well, at first it's really hard because all of the interviews, right? They will just come to you and interview every day.
So this is normal for you?
Yeah, this is normal now, but yeah.
But it didn't used to be?
Yeah.
Was it extra pressure that came with that as well?
We know that this will come, the interviews, so just deal with it.
How did you deal with the music video?
Well, it's a very tiring day because we did that in just one day, I think.
Okay.
That's why it's so hard to be like an actor. Just we act. So
yeah,
it's pretty fun that we did that. Yeah.
Fun looking back on it?
Yeah.
Good to hear. So coming into the next Dota event you did, there were a lot more eyes on you to do well. Was that something that you felt was easy to deal with?
Like in the tournaments, yeah, I think so because they keep looking at me of how good I am, but they didn't know that my team is just really good, so I'm becoming the highlight. So it's more of in my team there.
So coming into this major, what did your training look like?
Well, before going Kiev, we have a little problem. But when we got here and surprised that our first game is EG, and really surprised, then I don't know, but when I wake up, I'm very confident that we can beat them. I don't know why. It happens.
It happens,
Yeah.
and it worked out.
Yeah.
What was the problem that you were having?
It's coming like a Dota problem. That's why I feel like a loss in the Dota. We don't understand why we're making these things. That's why.
Okay, but you understand now why you're winning, because you
Yeah.
are winning.
Yeah. It's probably in the help of our managers too. That's why.
How did boot camp go for you? You went you trained together during
Yeah.
that time?
So, yeah, we train like 10 hours a day. So, it's pretty good.
Now, there were a couple of people that were expecting TNC to get a direct invite to this major. You ended up having to qualify for it. How did you feel during that time?
That time, I don't think we will become an invite because we really don't beat Faceless in that time. So I didn't expect anything. I just we beat them and we should qualify.
Now, there was a game against Thunderbirds in the group
Yeah.
stages. You played Spectre.
Yeah.
You got a massive record. 33 kills, 3 deaths, 33 kills on the Spectre. What was that like?
Well, I'm very surprised because I didn't see that my kills is so high. So it's really something. But I want to break something too. First spin I need to become a champion in major. So that's why I'm here.
I think you broke a lot of people's predictions
Yeah.
with that game.
Yeah,
How do you feel looking back on the group stages? How do you feel?
It's good in the majors because we beat the tier 1 teams and make us confident. So we're ready for Faceless.
Yeah, you have a bit of a unique situation there.
Yeah.
You did really well in the group stages, and they didn't do that well. But Faceless, they're your arch enemy.
Yeah.
They're the boss.
Yeah, it's like in the sea again.
Yeah.
So we need to beat them.
Are you gonna do it this time?
Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're just gonna wreck them.
You're gonna wreck them,
Yeah,
okay.
wreck them.
I look forward to seeing you
Yeah,
do that.
thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, Raven.
Thank you.
Good luck.
The trophy awaits the winner of the Kiev Major. Long way to go for these two teams, though. They are in the round of 16 right now as they face off against each other. Faceless versus TNC. Confident, Ben, from Raven in that one, but I guess he has to be headed into this one. But is it misplaced against what has been a bit of a bogey team for them?
They've had better results recently, but the thing is, he knows that. He's like, man, they didn't expect to get invited, which I'm a little bit surprised about, just because the trend was that LAN winners did get invited, but he was level-headed about it. He's like, we didn't beat Faces, we didn't deserve one, we didn't expect one.
I think it's a good way to enter, isn't it, Conrad? But that kind of psyche.
Yeah, I think these guys seem pretty humble. I mean, they realize they're coming onto the big stage. Their success at TI6, I could say a lot of people, nobody expected a lot of C teams to do that well at the event. So I'm glad that they're coming in with a level head into this one and are treating Faceless, hopefully, with the confidence that they need.
When we look at some of the statistics, Curtis, one of them that jumps out at me is the most amount of deaths, which goes to Faceless by some distance at this tournament already. They've had more deaths than the other team, an average of 33. They're also not very good KDA-wise, and TNC haven't had that many kills either. So could we be in for a fairly low-scoring match, or do you feel like the two, because they're from the same region, they know each other really well, maybe we do get an explosive matchup?
I think when I've seen these teams play in C, the kill scores are fairly high.
Yeah.
I didn't know that stat about Faceless, but to be honest, it doesn't surprise me that much. They have players like iceiceice who is like high pressure. Even if I feed, I'm going to apply this pressure. And the thing is, the death isn't always bad, and you have him captaining the team, so he's probably taught that mentality to his players. Generally in Dota, if you die on the enemy side of the map, it has a lot of a reduced impact. I think if we look at those deaths, you'll see a lot on the enemy side of the map just getting that.
4th and 6th lowest kills in the tournament for Faceless and TNC so far. Let's see what they make of draft number 1 as we head into it. Bans already underway. What are you expecting, Ben, here? I mean, Curtis made the point that we might get our own meta within a meta here because they do know each other so
They haven't
well.
given them Earth Spirit in all 8 of the matches. Whenever their first pick, they've been banning it out, but it looks like it's been nerfed enough to the point where they actually don't care that much about it. And Nyx Assassin, I think, is the most picked hero for both of these teams, and Sam H makes Nyx stun look like a target is done.
He does. He's something me and Ben were talking about earlier. Is we love how he's not greedy with it. A lot of Nyx's does Vendetta to try to do the hit into the stun. Sam H, if he knows it's a kill, he'll just stun. And that gives you such a higher percentage to hit it. And I love that about him.
I think his performance at TI was pretty eye-opening as far as offlaners go in the SCA region. Like, many just consider iceiceice to be the best one, but I think Sam H is way better on the ones that require initiation, maybe except for Magnus. But his Faceless Void performance, his Nyx performance, like, he sets up the fight for his team very, very well. And that's why Raven is allowed to get 33 kills in a game.
Indeed. Broke the record, of course, at all Valve tournaments, all 11 of them. The most amount of kills on a Spectre. Not the most amount of kills on a Spectre, but the most amount of kills ever in one game using a Spectre in that particular match.
So double support coming up from Team Faceless, and this is a draft that TNC have actually run before. This is something that's very strong about them. They'll run what I like to call double jump. It means that, you know, you can initiate with something that's a little bit more single target like Nyx. You'll go on them, all the enemy's team will sort of group up to try to help that hero, and then you'll hit them with a bigger AoE spell. It's a very good way to play. It's how Wings like to play at TI6. And, I mean, if they're comfortable with that, it's looking pretty good for them in this draft so far, in my opinion.
Sam H has played Nyx 3 times already.
Yep.
It's a good hero for him.
It's a good hero for Sam H.
Yeah.
One key thing here is Tim's going to be on that slot, are going to be roaming around. One thing I noticed about TNC is that Tim's only seems to play roaming supports. I've not seen him play anything else, favoring the Monkey King, Earth Spirit, those roaming heroes.
He's played an Ogre.
Ogre's sort of like that too, though.
He is a little bit like that, isn't he?
He likes to run around.
Yeah.
What are they going to get for iceiceice? Because I think his hero is pretty defining for their strategy.
Yeah. TNC is also a team that likes to, they always last pick either a 1 or 2 position, I believe. It's the hero that they think will carry them in the game. They don't care if it's Raven or Cuckoo. I think they prefer it to be Raven, to be honest, because the team just plays so well around him when he's on that high farm hero. But I expect we'll see them try to save that until last.
Do we have a potential to see Broodmother to this game?
I think with
For the
iceiceice
series?
you always do. You know, if you look at the lineup and you think, hey, this could be a good Brood game, I think there is very few Broods that match up to iceiceice in terms of A, annoyingness, and B, being successful with that hero.
They're also last pick, too.
Yeah. And it gives them that option. I mean, we saw the surprise Tiny pick that one game against Evil Geniuses, and that did really well as well. They found a lot of success with that hero with Black playing that, and that to me was a huge surprise when they picked that one last.
They've played more heroes at Kiev Major than TNC. They've had 41 different heroes during their matches. TNC had 35, which is the 4th lowest of all the teams here.
Wow.
They haven't experimented a huge amount.
Not necessarily a bad thing, though.
No,
I think
I mean, it led to a
oftentimes
great group stage,
Yeah.
but does it sometimes mean you're a little bit more predictable?
sort of, but I always say, like, when people talk about things like predictability, like Alliance was the most predictable team at TI3,
and no one could beat them.
They were untouchable. Like,
I mean, look at IG at DAC. Had the most games, almost one of the most games of any other team played there.
Yep.
Everybody saw them. Nobody could touch them.
Very narrow hero pool, actually, at DAC. We did comment on that someone would surely figure them out before they got to the final, but no one did.
it's just very hard to figure out a team like that.
Yeah.
Because, for example, you don't know what their weakness is until you've basically guessed for it.
Yeah.
Because you only get a few games of officials. Like, at TI3, apparently the weakness was maybe Ake's hero pool. Not because he had the smallest hero pool, but because the heroes he played were so crucial to their strategies, rather than Bulldogs, who everyone seemed to focus on before that.
Bad the Slark, and there is the Spectre.
I didn't actually expect them to go for the Spectre. I thought
Did
they
you
were
not?
gonna. They were well. There's a lot of minus armor with the Slaughter and Dazzle, so I thought they would have a more physical damage dealing one position. And Dazzle Spectre, I guess, is pretty decent.
One
but
thing
they
to be
can
said
outlive.
is, if they're all minus armor, you just run in and they all hit you, Dispersion's going to do a ton of damage. The thing with Spectre now that's making her so strong is she's actually more of like a mid to late game carry than a hard late game carry, just because her talents are so strong. She's not a hero that, in my opinion, is like the same. If you reach late game with Spectre, you win. We've seen a lot of Spectre's late game actually lose in this tournament. Where she's been dominating is when she gets her 20 talent, she gets that 20 strength. Maybe she like closes out the game versus 25 talent, but it's just her first 3 talents have so much strength together.
Banning out that Tinker.
Just in case.
Has Cuckoo played anything strange this tournament?
He's played 3 laners, PL,
PL pick.
and a silencer, core silencer as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And a Tinker game too.
It's not a bad PL game, to be honest. I think they would only pick it in a game like this if he has 10th pick, though. So they have the Faceless has a counter pick against its hero. I think they should pick something a bit more solid in that sense. Perhaps a Shadow Fiend could work pretty well, give them the physical damage. Another thing about running cores like Spectre and Nyx is, I remember I can't remember who it is. It's 2 Chinese teams. I think it was Vici and IGV maybe, but one team had like a Spectre Puck Nyx core, and the Puck was like 16-0. The Spectre was like free farming, but they just couldn't close out the game. They didn't have physical damage. But eventually the other team got BKBs. They had a Juggernaut. They couldn't do enough physical. And surprisingly, like I said, Spectre falls off late game if you do not have anything to do that physical damage. She needs to rely on Desolate. She needs to rely on Radiance, Dispersion, these things to do damage more than her just right clicks.
So that's pretty much what, just SFTA?
TA's
has
had an
been a
amazing
big
tournament.
pick here. Yeah.
It's not as good this game in my opinion. I think it's a bit harder to play against Slark and Crystal Maiden. Abaddon's a bit weird because Abaddon can be very good versus TA, but TA's also one of the heroes that can proc his ulti very quickly. I really like
Not a big
SF.
TA picker either, Cuckoo.
The thing is, most pub mid players will always be able to play SF and TA. Those are like your universal, I want to win this pub, I want to stop some noobs, I'm 4k above the average, I'm going to pick these heroes on 1v5.
On that basis, this is SF.
Yeah. I mean, he played TA just a couple of games ago, so I think it could be TA. I prefer SF. I think the hero's great versus the Faceless lineup. They have nothing through BKB. When Stark presses ulti, you just press your ulti, there's no damage, and sometimes he just straight out dies. And I feel like TNC should be able to pick the Shadow Fiend versus the Ogre CM. It is a scary, that's the one thing. It's a super scary support duel to play against in the early game. It is more minus armor though. They have a lot of minus armor. I feel like if you amp someone, weave them, Shadow Fiend, or like they kill Spectre, they may all just die from that. Spectre could just be AFK and she'd kill everyone. Alright, so they go for the TA dot. Trying to figure out the reasoning for it. I think perhaps SF lacked a little bit of burst. This is something that a lot of teams think about when they have a hero like Slaughter. You need to be able to utilize the fast move speed into stun, into amp, and someone needs to blink in with you and kill that target. Otherwise, Slaughter seems a bit of a suboptimal hero. I think with that reasoning, maybe TA could be a bit better than Shadow Fiend.
It definitely gets online faster.
It does.
And is able to really get in there and get those kills.
Something else to mention is that against Slark, you want some sort of vision that's not dependent on your wards. If you have like Peacemaster Hawk or TA traps, it's a lot harder for the enemy team to de-ward all your wards. I'm sure we've all played pubs against Slark where they just get every single one of your wards, like noob supports. But really, that hero's just really good at that.
Yeah.
And a Storm to finish things off. Didn't see one yesterday. Do get one today.
I like this pick. I mean, it's against a Nyx and a Slaughter, and you think, hey, this isn't such a good Storm game. But honestly, it works so well with their lineup. They needed something that would be able to jump in from far range, maybe get these solo pickoffs. I think it's a very solid pick.
Okay. Well, let's get some predictions. We had a good day yesterday. The boys in the 4th seat in particular, Conrad, no pressure now, did very well yesterday. So you're up against it. What are you going for? Game on.
I'm going to have to go with TNC on this lineup. I really like what they've drafted here together, and I think the Spectre, they've been playing it better than anybody else, and Sam H on that Nyx.
Okay, Ben?
I'm also going to go with TNC. I think their team fight's a lot stronger, and I think they're just generally way more consistent. Iceiceice is worrying me a little bit, though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to bet against Isis Abaddon. I'll also go with TNC, though. I think Spectre and TA just provide too much vision in these fights. The Nyx is going to have a great game just because they have the vision advantage. It's pretty close, though, in my opinion.
Okay, all right. All three of our members on the expert panel believing that the curse is just that, a curse that no longer exists. We are headed to the main arena now as we head over to our commentary team for Game 1 of an SEA grudge match. Can TNC finally overturn their bogey team Faceless? Let's find out.
Thank you very much, Paul. I'm ODPixel, I'm here with Synderen, and we're getting ready for the first series of Day 2 here at the Kiev Major. TNC versus Faceless, the draft's complete. We can expect a lot of action from these two Southeast Asian sides, can't we? So we've finished off with a Templar Assassin and a Storm Spirit. There's going to be a lot of plays going on.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this draft overall. I think it was really interesting to watch how it developed. Obviously, these two teams know each other very, very well. They've played a lot in the SEA region. Going in based on group stages, TNC probably favored in that regard, but I think head-to-head Faceless are... I can't remember the win rate, but it's really, really high. I'm sure the panel covered it, but regardless, loved seeing how they kind of counterpicked each other at every turn throughout this draft, and I don't really have a clear favorite as such. I think there's a couple of heroes that you really need to look out for in this game. I think this is the type of game that Slark can really take off in.
Okay.
TNC don't have the best 5-man, which I find to be one of the better counters to Slark. It's a little bit more all over the place with skirmishes that hero loves to play. And at the same time, you're looking over at TNC's lineup where there's Templar Assassin we've seen have massive success so far. And this time around, it's playing with the Slardar. This minus armor strategy of TNC is devastating.
Absolutely.
But it's into a batting.
And interesting about TNC's lineup as well, the two cores, it's the same as what we saw from Liquid the other day. Remember, they ran the TA and Spectre combination. But the thing I kind of like a little bit more about what TNC are doing here, as you've touched upon, is they have got a lot of ways to go for the mid-game fight. It's less greedy than what we saw from Liquid yesterday, and much more oriented to the style you need to play against a team like Faceless.
Yeah, I think Nyx complements these lineups well, where you have two greedier cores, because Nyx as an offlaner generally doesn't farm as well, doesn't scale as well. Often, for that reason, you see Nyx is going for Hand of Midas so they can keep up, but I think in this type of game you don't have to. I think you can go Arcane Boots into straight Blink Force Staff, for example, and just be a setup for your team. And then in that case, you generally want a support that can scale and take advantage of the fact that Nyx isn't taking as much space. And a hero like Slardar can do pretty well with some farms. So very well-rounded lineup, in my opinion, from both teams. And this one, to me, really hard to call a clear favorite.
And I like this as well from TNC. This could go very nice. They see XY obviously sitting mid with jabs, trying to get the Storm Spirit at the good start. They may not expect this early smoke gank from TNC. Tims with the wraparound coming in. Hits the two-man crush. They'll look to focus down jabs. Who is bringing Cuckoo down very, very low here. Cuckoo has to be careful. Being doped by the Ogre. At the end of the day, will be Faceless getting the first blood. But it looks like they should pay with both of their lives as long as Tims can close this gap. Indeed he can. XY will look for a deny to the Ancients, but it's not going to happen. So Tims gets the double kill. Faceless do get the first blood. Who's coming out on top there, Sim?
I think it's pretty even. Overall, what I like to focus on when a team goes for these level 1 smokes in the mid lane is that it takes more than a minute for this play to be executed, and that means there's a trade-off in a side lane.
Yeah.
iceiceice gets his level 2. He's actually dealing a lot of damage to Raven right now, but looks like he will be falling with this double rotation. A bit surprised that iceiceice gets killed off by this pretty obvious movement from TNC after they made this play in mid, but overstays his welcome a little bit. And now for TNC, definitely worth it. After they got this extra kill, it's looking pretty good for them here to begin with.
Definitely, as you touched upon, something that's going to be very important for them against this Slark. As you mentioned, it set out to be a very good Slark game. There's no sort of silence. There's only what really kind of 2 proper stuns between TNC's lineup. So Black, if he gets a good opening and
mid lane,
doesn't
there's
feel
a
pressure,
lot of pressure on Cuckoo here.
It seems to be the main focus here from Faceless. This time around, Cuckoo does not have any sort of backup. He will head back to the shrine. Oh, no, he's not going to make it in time! XY just clubbing him down. Oh, he was so close to being able to get that shrine up. I mean, to be fair, if Tims was able to TP earlier and start the shrine, he may have just lived.
He could have definitely saved him there. I think Cuckoo didn't make the call, or that, yeah, he just felt confident that he was going to make it to the shrine, and at the end of the day, he just barely didn't. This is the big strength of Ogre. I love how XY is playing this game. So far, he's just been really annoying, let's put it that way, in this mid lane. This is a Templar Assassin matchup. Well, I guess TA versus Storm is more even nowadays than it used to be, but Ogre can easily force a TNC support to be here. Ogre is so good against TA in lane. Obviously, Ignite getting rid of that refraction, so TNC have to help out. And this is giving good farm to Faceless side lanes as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. Other than the initial blunder on that top lane from Ice being caught out, he's now starting to pick the CS back up again and being able to put a little bit of pressure on the Spectre. Certainly keeping him behind Black's farm. Black top of the farm at the moment, 16 for 9. Certainly having the easier safe lane out of the two. As Raven is indeed, having a little bit of a difficulty with his Abaddon's presence because TNC are being pulled between supporting both the safe and that mid lane. Tim's coming in again for the crush. At the least we'll look to cancel the clarity of XY.
Yeah, he does have Arcane Aura though.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
It's still, everything matters in this kind of play. And I was going to say, this Ogre, obviously by virtue of getting these 2 kills, has Boots Orb of Venom. So he's very, very strong early on. When you have this support with these items, there's kind of no one who can match him right now.
Cuckoo has to be so careful here. They're trying to close the gap, bringing in the CM as well. They've got the initial slow. Mass TP is coming through, but the Frostbite, it'll be enough. Faceless again, punishing this mid lane, and TNC just a fraction too slow with their reactions.
It's one thing that he dies, but with these TPs not connecting, again, it's even more space. Basically, what Faceless are doing is they're putting so much pressure on this mid lane that every lane is working out just because of this one lane. That is one way of dealing with Templar Assassin, is that, first of all, they're shutting her down, but, you know, this hero is very snowbally by nature, so shutting it down in the first place is great. But if you also have counter picks in addition that are doing well, such as the Slark, who is, in my opinion, pretty good against Templar Assassin.
I mean, absolutely, and this is the thing, you know, as we talked about, up top, the supports, because they're coming to the mid, they're not being able to secure this lane. But yeah, bottom, Black will get himself back out in time. Again in the mid lane, Cuckoo once again getting shut down, the 4th death in the first 5 minutes. Faceless really have it all out for him, and understandable considering some of the past performances we've seen from Cuckoo on these heroes like TA. And Faceless certainly feeling that the way to deal with TNC is to just shut down the mid as hard as you possibly can.
I think he's making the mistake of coming back to lane. After the first 3 deaths, at some point you need to just realize, okay, this lane is a minefield right now. There's no point going back. Go farm some jungle. You know, you're way safer in there. You can play around your shrine. Ideally, at this point, your supports might have double stacked one of the harder camps, not necessarily the Ancients, but just something for the TA. But they haven't, because they've been spending so much time trying to help out and being too late. So Cuckoo is really far behind. He's going to go back to mid lane again. This is starting to look a little bit tilty if he gets killed again.
He does have Tims. Tims gets a good crush onto Jabs, who's still yet to hit 6, but again, the CM was sitting there ready to hold back the slide and make sure he couldn't get the crush up for now. With the Frostbite onto Rio, he's in trouble. Wrap around from XY as he looks to rejoin the mid lane fight. Tims will land the crush. Now Sam H is coming across to help TNC try and secure something in return. They will find XY. So this time TNC do manage to get the 1-for-1, but again, it's causing them to just pull out mass TP reactions.
I feel like Faceless are winning this game really, really hard right now.
I mean, just look at this Slark, and
exactly.
A 40 CS on Black coming up at 6 minutes in. He's had pretty much solo XP as well. He's not needed the support's help against the Nyx Assassin. He's just managed to outlane Sam H, and it's going to be a nightmare for TNC to deal with.
Yeah, I don't think these 2 heroes could kill him. They're going to need a TP from Dazzle. He is coming in, actually.
Black should have the chance to get the Shadow Dance off, and coming in with the stun at the wrong time as well, so Black will be easily able to walk it off and TP himself back to safety. Already, you know, between the 2 heroes, that TNC are going to rely on to lock him down, mistakes are being made soon.
Yeah, that was just flat out a mistake from TNC's players there in coordinating this. It happens sometimes, you know, you want to make this play, you're both ready, you both want to go in. You see the opportunity for you at the same time as the teammate sees the one for him, and them stacking the stuns, they might have just saved Black's life. Because the nice thing about these 2 supports, or support and offlaner against Slark, is that both their stuns are AoE. So Slark can't just do the Shadow Dance TP out unless both stuns are on cooldown. But fortunately for Black, they used both of them into a Dark Pact. And easy escape for him, TP's back. And he's already back to farming here.
Look at this up top. iceiceice pressuring Raven in. Raven yet to hit 6. He may suffer to get his way out. He's already used the dagger. It's on cooldown for a couple of seconds more. Now the TP comes through. iceiceice will back away. He's got level 6 of the ready himself. He can fight this. Raven is trying to come back in on this one, but instantly has to retreat once more because Nuts and XY there with the wraparound. Faceless punish Tims 6-4. All the lanes really looking to go Faceless's way. This top lane, iceiceice with more farm than Raven, better experience gain as well. How do you recover from this sort of a laning stage, Sim?
I think the main hero to look out for them right now is the Nyx. We need to see some Vendetta plays out of TNC to kind of bring them back. Get Haunt online, try to find a couple of picks, but to be honest with you, I think this already looks really, really bad, and you don't really see it from the kills. Like 6-4, okay, you know, it's manageable, but the CS lead and how hard they're winning these lanes Faceless is really concerning for TNC. This is a 3,000 gold lead minute 8 with 0 towers down. That's an absolute stomp
and
in a
even
lane.
things that feel like we don't see again, the fact that the side lanes, look at the denies they've been able to pull off.
Yeah.
It's that much they're shutting down. And not
is Cuckoo getting soloed here?
He's getting styled on by Jabs. Jabs picks up the Storm styled on by Jabs. Jabs picks up the Storm because they're putting incredibly low. Wilting out the boys plays mid. They're trying to go up top. They may get punished this time though. Raven closing back in onto XY. XY pulling incredibly low. Wilting out the poison touch, but iceiceice is looking to make sure that the trade pays off. A third kill picked up for that one loss that Faceless have in this fight. And, this is looking so tough for TNC. Faceless are just playing it right.
They're making some really good decisions, and at the end of the day, this is going to come down to for Faceless until this team fight kicks in from TNC. So we're going to see if they can find the opportunity.
This is the play that they need to try and make happen. To get things, to slow down the momentum that Faceless is building up. But mid lane, whilst they're looking for a play, bottom TNC, Cuckoo has been gone on one. TP will come through, and that will put Jabs off from going in for more. Top lane, iceiceice on the verge of claiming this tier 1 tower from Raven. And nothing that Raven can do about it. Will TP himself back to base. He's going to look to refuel on the mana so he can horn in and potentially join a gang.
Bottom lane, they're trying black here. Perfect chaining of stuns.
But is it enough stuns? It isn't. He packs and he gets out of there.
Not
it's
nearly
so
enough damage.
hard to catch the slug. And that's TNC using a fair few resources to try for it. And then you've got to kind of isolate it. Is this a draft issue against the slug? Was it that much of a perfect pick from Faceless? Jabs comes in, and to make things even worse for Cuckoo, Jabs steals the double damage ring.
The Slark pick was amazing at the point that they picked it. There was, I thought this looked like an absolutely great Slark game, and then TNC decided to last pick TA into it, which was a bit puzzling for me. You already have the Spectre. It's not really that great of a hero matchup for TA, and of course the last pick also sitting on Faceless, so they could even pick whatever matchup they wanted for mid. In this case, the Storm Spirit is having a good time. I'm personally not that big of a fan of the TA pick in that position in the game, but more than anything, this mid lane early game they just got outplayed, and seems like it's continuing.
Yeah, Tims tries to hang around to get a bit of solo XP, but Jabs immediately in with the DD. There to punish.
And this is, by the way, whenever you're thinking about picking Ogre, there's two things that make a good Ogre game. Either you have one or two lanes that you really want to secure early on, where you have like weak cores that need help. Storm isn't the greatest hero in the lane, so it's really nice for him to have Ogre backing him up. That's one thing. And the second thing is, can we use Bloodlust? And their lineup is incredible for Bloodlust. All 3 cores of Faceless benefit so much from this ability. It might not be that intuitive on Storm. You're like, why does he need move speed and travel so fast? Attack speed on Storm.
It really is, yeah.
Attack speed on Storm is a big deal. And no-brainer why it's amazing on Slark. And Abaddon, one of the off-lane cores that is being played right now, that actually hits a lot and can deal a lot of damage.
I mean, we've seen that, how well he's been able to harass Raven and really make the Spectre's life a little bit miserable on this top lane. Bottom, sentry's down, they've got the vision of Sam H, he'll try and get himself out of there. Jabs comes in, we'll get the touch. Sam H managing to buy some time with the spike carapace, but it's not going to be enough. A kill for Black. As Faceless just... they've come into this matchup, it seems like they've just had the perfect plan. We know in the past that Faceless have just been very good against these Southeast Asian teams, and we're really seeing it already here, Sim.
We definitely are. This is actually the most one-sided game that I can remember in the whole tournament in the first 12 minutes. There might have been one more, but they are destroying TNC. This isn't even funny. Like, we're approaching, if this tendency continues on the graph, which we have every reason to believe so, it's pretty much a linear growth.
Yeah, it is.
What's that? A 10k lead at minute 17 at this rate? 18?
It looks to be aiming that way.
That's pretty rough. And I mean, I'm trying to look at the bright sides here for TNC of what plays they can make. They're just very limited. There's no Blink Dagger on the Slaughter, not even close. There's no Blink Dagger on the Nyx, not even close. It's actually going Midas. I don't know if, well, maybe they have to. The TA is really far away from Adesso 13 minutes in. Might actually go for the Blink first as a result. They've lost 2 towers, currently losing their 3rd.
And look at this Faceless, just keeping the tempo up. They're looking for a play down bottom. XY has been found alone, and Raven and Cuckoo will look to try and abuse that. Samh coming across as well. It is a tanky Ogre. They really need to get this kill so as to not waste time on it. And they will do so indeed. The question is if Faces can punish them. Jabs gets the touch onto Cuckoo. Looking to zip in and close the gap. Spike Cameras will on him back. He's actually out of mana here. Jabs has to be a bit careful, but he does have the back for the team. Black jumps in, gets the pounce on Samh. Samh starts to run, has the stick charges to survive. Pull back onto Raven, graved up by Ryo. TNC, they're managing to stay pretty strong in this fight, all things considered. Jabs ticking down low. The storm will drop, but Black, he's still fighting very, very strong. The meld hit, the stick charges. Black stays alive, healed up by the mist coil. Good crush from Tims, but it's dart packed off immediately by Black. Cuckoo melts up, no vision here between them, but they do have the AoE from the dart pack, but the refracted, it doesn't matter. Nuts comes in at the right time with the Crystal Nova to make sure they can bring that TA down before they get punished even more. And in a fight where, for TNC, probably one of the best that they've had this game, it still doesn't feel like enough. Faces are the ones to come out on top. Black survives. They may have lost Jabs, but it is still a Faceless win.
Yeah, this is really, really big win. But did Slaughter die twice, or did he just not... I think Slaughter died twice. Did he?
No.
Because I was just thinking, this was a long fight, right? And it was taken next to TNC's Shrine. And the way it started was that they ganked Slaughter at bottom, and at the same time they went on the Ogre mid. And I think he could have died, respawned, TP'd back, and died again. I'm not sure. But regardless, like whatever the numbers were, this was another great fight for Faceless, honestly. Yep, the graph. There was a slight dip in that one kill.
We might be able to catch it this time.
Let's see, Slaughter's currently dead.
Yes.
This fight is really long. He's spawning now. He might just not be TPing in. Yeah, he is TPing in.
Yeah, so you're
He
right.
died twice.
He goes down the second time at the end of it.
So that was overall a 5 for 2, I think.
What do we have? The initial slide up death, the other 3, and yeah, you're correct. Here goes down, so a 5 for 2. A very, very painful trade for
bottom lane
TNC.
Cuckoo.
Faceless.
Well, meld.
Cuckoo and Ryan have to be careful. iceiceice is going to come hunting for them.
And with all the strong games we've seen from TA in this tournament, this is a different story. This shows the weakness that the hero has. If it is not having a good game, right now this TA hero just sucks, man. Like, it's really, really bad.
He's got a bit of time where he can't do anything here. The TP is still on cooldown.
He needs to get this Blink Dagger as a minimum, and probably the Deso as well, because everyone has overtaken him so much that this is not a comeback hero by any means, unless you've like stacked for it and it gets to farm like these triple or quad stacks or something, and then all of a sudden you get this big influx of gold, but it just hasn't happened. So
and this has always got to be a nightmare. If you are a team that is massively behind after the laning stage, dealing with a 16-minute slog with a Shadow Blade.
Yep. And he's not the only one making good item progression. We're seeing Ice with the Vlad's into soon the Medallion, and then full Solar Crest will come shortly after. And the Storm Spirit will have a pretty timely Bloodstone as well. So everyone is doing very well on the Radiant side. Even the supports are having a pretty good time. Almost Midas and the Crystal Maiden. Ogre has the Value Buckler. Looks like he's going for a full mech, actually. I may sound like a broken record here, Owen, but I can't even imagine a fight right now that TNC can win. Like, that is how grim it looks. The difference between this game and Liquid's games yesterday when they had the TA and the Spectre was that their TA had a way better game, first of all, and their lineup just had more damage. The Doom in the Liquid lineup made a big difference in terms of just being able to go in, get them an advantage in the fight. Nyx is not that kind of hero, especially not with a Gloves of Haste. Like, are they going to kill people?
They will find Black, but again, Shadow Dance still there. We'll use it rather early, so they managed to hold him in position. This is a good start off for 10, with Raven jumping in as well. Black pulls low, we'll get the pounce off. Raven continues to chase, Cuckoo comes with the blink. That's huge, absolutely huge for TNC. They get one, they may just get two as well. XY tries to get himself up to the high ground. Fire Blast to hold back the TA, but the rest of TNC close in, pick up a second. TNC perfectly. I mean, that is pretty much the only way they can kill the Slark. They did it textbook. The timing of the stuns was brilliant. They controlled him. Arguably, maybe a bit of an early Shadow Dance from Black did end up costing him because they were able to stun him through it. But that was perfect from TNC.
But more important than anything, he was out of position. This kill, I don't think is possible if his team is backing him up. A Batten can always save him, or if there's like a Crystal Nova and a Frostbite, he might be able to get away from this core that ends up killing him. But that fails, and all of a sudden TNC. Oh, this is a good job!
Oh, he's done it! He snatched the Aegis Jack! Oh, huge AoE damage comes through for the Crystal Nova. TNC falling low. Jabs with the big ball play coming in, snatching the Aegis. Raven's trying to get himself out. He's the last member of TNC alive. He will survive for now. But that timing from Jabs, getting into the pit, absolutely beautiful.
This is such an ironic moment. He makes like the biggest play of the game. He gets stuck on a cliff of storm right now. Oh, that's some good stuff. Really, really nice play here from Jabs. When this was the possible turning point of the entire game for TNC. They got 2 big kills next to the pit. They have a good Roche lineup in starter and TA. But at the end of the day, the lack of a Deso. They don't kill Roche fast enough. The Storm gets there in time, goes for the big play, manages to snatch the Aegis 1-on-4 basically. An absolutely huge play here coming in from Jabs. And now we're feeling very comfortably with Faceless once again. 10,000 gold.
At the 80 minutes, as you predicted.
Oh, it's a bit later. Or is it? No, actually it's 18, yeah. That's kind of not exactly the way I imagined it would happen, but the advantage is still there. Is this a full crest? This is a full solo crest now on iceiceice. And they have some really good heroes to take advantage of this aggressive minus armor usage and of the defensive usage. I think especially the defensive usage in this
timing again. It comes in absolutely perfectly.
This is super good.
And just the amount of damage he's able to do with those passive procs, because of how close they are together, it just rips TNC apart. I mean, Raven was very lucky to get himself away. Very lucky.
They got the very nice jump into level 4 Static Remnant with Aphotic Shield, another Static Remnant, Crystal Nova, and TNC are just... There's no play. You're caught in the pit. You kind of had to commit that many heroes to try to get it in time. I don't think it was a bad idea from TNC. It was just one of those moments.
Here begins the fun. Black, he won't get the kill, but he will be able to grab a few essence shift stacks. Forces the Dazzle to TP back.
This tower is gone.
A second tier 2 to be falling from the side of TNC's map at the 20-minute mark. Faceless still with the 3 strongest cores on the map. Raven and Cuckoo trying their best to climb back into the game. We do have... Well, Desolator, it's not looking too far off for Cuckoo. He's still managing to make good progression, considering how hard he was beat down on the start. He's got 2.1k on top of the Blightstone. So just about 1,000 more to go and he'll have it. Black, maybe looking to see if he can find something.
This is something you generally don't want to see, though. Like, TNC have the Spectre and TA fighting for farm in the same lane. That shows that you're cornered. Like, there are so limited options to where they can go and get farm that they end up going toward the same spot. I think regardless, they shouldn't be. Like, so one of them should just go somewhere else. But they might be just trying to trade off towers here. There are only 3 heroes in position, though. This could be interesting in mid, however. Sam H, they need one more hero. They're deciding against it. Dazzle and Nyx alone can't do it. Here goes the tier 2. So now it makes a bit more sense that Tia and Spectre ran down here together. They will get the tower, at least. But here comes the high ground push. And this is really difficult for TNC.
How do you hold this back if you're TNC? Your heroes just... Where's the kind of the wave clear as such to push it and the AoE?
I think you have to play around the weave that is currently ticking. The deaths are almost done on TA, but won't be in time.
Silver Edge complete on Black.
Weave is pretty strong right now. You need to be careful. And they're just going to step back for a little bit. The weave is running out now in 5 seconds.
And the next crew wave is ready to come in. TNC. Oh, Black actually seeing if he can get himself a pounce on Sam H. Won't get the connection. And the tier 3 falling very quickly. Jabs ready to start making the play. Zips in, grabs Rio. Rio gets Brave off the time. There's the horn from Brave. He's trying to kick things off. Right side, pop the ultimate. Jumping around, Tims tries to get himself away with the sprint. Will escape for the time being, but Jabs jumps again into the 3. Hitting the slow onto 3 maps again. Jabs with the plays, in and out. Out of mana now, has to be careful. They'll look to turn back towards the racks. Black healed up by iceiceice. They'll take down the Slardar. Tims with the immediate buyback. Vortex onto Sam H. Dragging him back in. Zip for Jabs will pick up the Nyx Assassin. Second one dead on TNC. They haven't quite finished off the melee racks yet. TNC trying to do their best to keep Faceless hands off them. Jabs is out of mana, falling low, but Cuckoo frostbited up. The Grave comes out just in time, but can they actually get Cuckoo out of this fight? He's being slowed down. XY tries to look for the Fire Blast, does get crushed up by Tims, but that's the third one down. Ultra kill for Jabs, as TNC just cannot stop the onslaught. Faceless find the melee racks, they'll get the range as well. And Jabs, he's not done. He really, really wants that rampage. He's not going to get it though. The Aegis will be popped.
It was almost running out. There's a good play from him. He wants to die there before it expires. I mean, this fight kind of shows what I was pointing out earlier, right? They just don't have the damage. They were fighting with 2 shrines and a buyback and under their towers, and they still lost. And they didn't even kill a hero, I think. This game is all Faceless, and unless there's some sort of miracle happening in a moment, game is all over as well. Good damage from Cuckoo here onto Black at least, but Solar Crest's pretty good item.
Look for the chase. They will get the slant to Jabs, but Jabs still with a full tank of mana. Very hard to catch. This will be popped just in case they caught any of TNC's members close behind them. Raven picked up the Invis rune. Doesn't have Haunt though, of course, for 40 seconds, and
Raven
very little he can do.
Wishing he was Earthshaker right now. That was a very good Invis rune on a very bad hero to have an Invis rune on. So
maybe if he had Radiance, he could have gone for the Invis walk down. The slow burn.
That only works in your game zone.
Yep. And then it doesn't.
Let's be real here, it definitely does.
It works against me, Sin. I'm like, why am I dying?
Oh.
And then I realize.
Have you ever played against like a Darkseer Ricky lane level 1 and you just died? You're like, what happened?
No, we don't have offlaners in our pubs.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a Bloodseeker and a Legion in the jungle.
Yeah. Reddit told me so.
Yep.
Every game.
Yeah.
No confirmation bias.
Sin, lol. But anyway, back to the game. As TNC are still holding on. They managed to at least get Faceless out of the base. But it did, of course, come at the cost of a dieback, a buyback from the TA. They've lost 2 melee racks, a range racks up on the top lane. Aghanim Scepter now complete 24 minutes in for iceiceice. He had one little bit of a blunder at the very start. We saw him going down the lane, but since that point, he had a brilliant time up there. 2-1-14 on this Abaddon. He himself, of course, doing lots in these fights as well, keeping Faceless' cause alive, allowing Jabs as well to play really aggressive, which has just been perfect against TNC. We're seeing Jabs consistently be the one that just zips into the midst of them all. And because, as we mentioned earlier, you know, we talked about the lack of control for the Slark. It's the fact there's lack of control for the Storm as well. There are 2 heroes that you need to be controlling with 2 stuns. TNC,
this is a good line.
This is kind of the all-in play.
He knows exactly what's happening. This is the YOLO play. There's nothing left to do. TNC, it's go time.
Sam H looking for the lead-in. Comes round from the back. Raven will put the horn. Look at the initial stun on XY. Jabs looking straight for the dazzle. Great call from Jabs. Immediately eliminates the backline support. Moves on to Cuckoo. 3, 4 dead. They'll find Raven as well. And it's GG. It's all too much for TNC. As they tap out and Faceless, with one of the most brutal beatdowns we've seen so far here on the main stage at Kiev Major, will win this game 25 minutes in. And it really was looking there straight from the off-sin. I mean, would you say yourself straight from the draft?
Well, I thought the draft was this was going to be a more even game than this. I feel like Faceless outplayed them really hard. They made a couple of very good decisions in the first 5 minutes, and TNC's lineup was one that didn't deal too well with falling behind, especially like it means so much to that lineup that TA has a bad game. I think Faceless completely identified what the key target to lock down was. Give TA an awful early game, and then it doesn't matter that Spectre had okay farm, because you know your mid laner is non-existent, and as a trade-off, your Storm is having a great time. He basically has 3 targets the whole game. Your Slark kind of counters, I would say, both enemy cores that they... I think the Slark was picked after Spectre, but before TA. So
yes.
If you want to look at the draft, again, I was pointing this out yesterday, but Liquid did end up winning the game. I think TA Spectre is a bit of an awkward combination of heroes because they're both very greedy and need a lot of build-up time. If you can play around it and build a lineup, that's great. But I want to say, even in the Liquid game, they were also looking dangerous for them.
For sure, yeah.
They just pulled it back with great plays.
Plays to pull off, yeah.
Strategically, I don't know if they had the better draft in that game either. But they won. This game, you really could see that the weakness that this kind of pairing can have in games.
It really feels that in the rest of the series, game 2, for sure, at least. TNC, they have...
Okay, unfortunately we seem to have lost the sound from Kiev, but of course we will go back to our commentary team for the second match. We're back at the panel to break down what was an absolute beatdown for Faceless over TNC. Yet again, their bogey team has been exposed. Back with Conrad, Malini, and AUI back on the panel. Conrad, what did he say after that? 25 minutes, it looked absolutely dominant from Faceless. We mentioned this at the start of the show. They can look spectacularly good and spectacularly awful in equal measure. That one, they were absolutely brilliant.
I mean, you talk about beatdown, XY and Nuts just coming to the middle lane, just making Cuckoo's day so bad at the beginning of that game. They really found what kind of the strategy that was going to work for them, shut down that TA really early on, and just ruin the game for the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, that was the key to it, really, Ben, wasn't it? Just make sure TA has a terrible early game, and then the rest takes care of itself.
It would have been okay if maybe like Stark didn't get so much farm, but like he just had a miserable game. He had Shadowblade, and they were able to get a lot of map control. And not to mention the Roche fight.
Yeah, I mean,
the Roche fight.
Just before that, actually, they managed to get a couple of pickoffs, didn't they? And
yeah.
You sort of thought, okay, well, if they can do that, if they can avoid taking them on as a team and they can just keep nicking one here and there and maybe pushing some objectives, maybe they can get back. And then literally a minute later, absolutely all hell breaks loose and they lose everything at the Roche.
Mm-hmm. I think Sin mentioned that maybe the TA should have left it lane a lot earlier. I think Ogre CM can invade the jungle, but they're probably gonna need to use a few smokes to do so. But she was not able to get back into the game.
Yeah, this is probably one of the more mountainous scoreboards that we've seen at the event. Was that the biggest, most dominant victory we've seen so far?
I think that was the most dominant victory that I've seen so far in this tournament. To be honest, I think that TNC, I think they thought about how to defend their mid lane a bit wrong. So when you know that your opponent's going to attack one area of the map, you have two options. You can either defend it with your heroes, or you can apply pressure somewhere else so that they cannot go there. I think in this game, if they had done something like going aggro even with the Dazzle Spectre and Slaughter maybe moving around the lanes a bit, ensure that TA could have that 1v1 versus Storm, which is a matchup she does quite well in. I think maybe the game could have gone a lot better, but honestly, Faceless played so well. They showed why if you pick like this Ogre CM, who honestly sort of need to dominate early game, they showed that they could do that, and that was perfect play from the supports.
Yeah, we're gonna take you through the Steel and the Roshan fight because it wasn't necessarily the key to victory, Ben, was it? Because it was already looking good for them, but it basically guaranteed them victory from then on because there was just no way TNC could come back in after this, was there?
Absolutely not. I can't believe he snatched the Aegis.
Yeah.
They have two stunners there, and they just was perfect timing by him. Absolutely perfect timing. I don't think he had any vision around the pit, but I think they had the sense that it was going to go down that quickly. That's one of those situations where you're like, man, if I had one more item, one more level, like we had a medallion, just like any small thing, it would have been a lot different.
And yeah, snowballing from the beginning of the game just prevented any of those factors entering in.
Or if Roche had -1 armor. You think like 1 armor sounds like, oh man, that's nothing. But in this situation, that could have completely changed the game.
It definitely adds up.
Okay, MVP for this one. Jabs had a great game, 12, 2, and 14. Black 5, 1, 11. Involved in almost all the good things that they did. And iceiceice, 2, 1, 19 of the 25 that they picked up. Who'd you pick out?
Support crew.
Support crew?
Yeah, is there a way to put
either?
both the support
Pick
and
one, because we can't pick two. So which one are you going for?
I don't know who played the Ogre because
it was XY.
It was XY.
Yeah, it was
I
XY,
thought
yeah.
What the Ogre did is most Ogres get a really early point bloodlust, but he just went straight up stun Ignite at level 3. He had 2 points Ignite, and that got them a lot of kills. His movements were very crisp, and Jab played fantastically, but I think XY really set it up for that game.
We'll give it to XY for this one, but they can share the trophy.
Dude, it's hard to get MVP as Ogre.
Yeah.
That is
very
hard. Really impressive.
I mean, we felt his presence all throughout the game. And that's something that like you mentioned. It's just hard to do as Ogre.
And 100 cast range.
I do want to say Nuts was 6-0 and 20 on
Yeah,
CM.
that's right, yeah.
But
you've just given XY the MVP.
I
so
honestly feel like XY had the highest impact on the game. Even if his score doesn't reflect that as much, he's an Ogre. A death means you've probably tanked every spell on the enemy team for your team.
Yeah.
So I thought he played amazingly.
One of the interesting things about Nuts is that he went heavy levels into Crystal or
Nova.
Crystal Nova, and that actually helped secure, I think, a lot of those kills that might have been. He ended up ignoring going early Arcane Aura, which I feel is a little bit uncommon currently right now in the patch.
Do you go 4-1-2?
Yep.
Yeah, I really like that build. I think it's, unless you need the Frostbite to do something, I think it's generally the superior build. You get to push out lanes, and you generally just do more damage in fights. I always think of Crystal Nova as a ranged Thunderclap, and Thunderclap's one of the best spells in the game.
Okay. We're going to move on to our second draft, of course. Talking to drafts, Ben, that wasn't that much of a one-sided draft, was it? Relatively even draft.
We thought it would have been SF over TA, perhaps, but even then, I still think it would have probably been a very similar situation. Although they would have had better team fight, I think like SF can catch up a lot easier because TA with that level of farm just didn't really do anything. But yeah, I think the Slark pick early kind of threw a wrench into TNC's plans. They couldn't do anything about him.
Yeah.
Or Abba too, for that matter.
Might see some different bands as we head into game 2. We are moving towards our second draft, of course, but before we get there, you heard earlier on an incredible story from Black, and he was also with Shiva before the round of 16 to discuss exactly what Faceless could deliver at the Kiev Major.
Right, Faceless Black.